Zemora on your right, Lim on your left. Number 3 overall seed. They're both on 6 cards. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah, a lot key cards for John here: Courser of Krufix and Siege Rhino. Yep. Unsurprisingly, his life gain cards are also his stabilizing creatures.
If you're Nathan, don't draw Wild Slashes. Last match, you wanted to draw them. They were great. This match, they're not as good. As the Sands of Citadel is going to start things off. Zemora does draw a copy of Monastery Swiftspear to start things off. He will play a Swiftspear, it looks like. He's actually going to Lightning Berserker and pass the turn back.
Yeah, by playing Lightning Berserker here, he's actually pushing more damage. Next one, you can go Mountain, Pump Berserker, and Swift Spear. And Lim, you know, you said those Sandstep Citadel Temple draws. These things are very scary from Rob's on control on the draw. On the play, he can sometimes get away with them, though it'll still cost him.
It looks like Zemora has to keep a 1-lander here on his mulligan to 6. His hand is actually pretty good with a couple copies of Hordling Outburst. There's a Fleece Main Lion there for John, however. Zemora needs to draw land right now as he has a Lightning Strike. So this would be a good time to do that.
Absolutely. Fleece Main Lion, you know, I said the key cards are Courser and Siege Rhino. That's true. Probably your honorable third here goes to Fleece Main Lion, though. It's 2 mana and positions very well against a lot of the creatures that Atarka Red can bring to the table.
It's a Zergo, it's a passing of the turn, no land there. Siege Rhino the draw here for John. Does he have land number 4? He does not. Zemora is fortunate there. Zemora does not have land number 2, though. Just picked up a copy of Atarka's Command.
So, interesting decision here. He does have 2 Siege Rhinos, and I was going to say he should do this.
Yes.
Because he has 2 Siege Rhinos. You almost never do this mode against Atarka Red, the draw 2, lose 2. But Nathan, passing the turn on nothing, yeah, draw 2, lose 2, go for it.
Yeah, I think you got to get those 2 cards, lose that 2 life.
If you can resolve 2 Siege Rhinos in a matchup against Atarka Red, you're almost certainly going to win. Unless you're really far behind when this starts, and John's not.
Nathan may have some interest maybe stoking the flames on the Fleece Main Lion while John is tapped out, get that thing off the table. Now, if you're Nathan, you're hoping he doesn't draw any lands. Well, that didn't work.
Not only is it a land, it's an untapped land.
Yes.
And the parade of rhinos begins.
This is how this goes sometimes. And Rhino is very, very hard for the red deck to beat, period. It certainly is game 1, especially when you have no lands. All you can do is pass the turn back over to Lim. And if one Rhino is good, a second one is better. First one's going to come into the red zone. We'll see a second one enter the battlefield here in just a moment.
It's saying been my thing of saying it's never a bad time to draw a Siege Rhino. Sometimes, though, it's a great time to draw Siege Rhino. And this guy kills so quickly. 2 Siege Rhinos, Zemora at 10, and still dies with 1 land in play. Game 1 over to John Lim.
Yeah, not too tough there for the Obs on control player. Siege Rhino was a very powerful magic card. Zemora had some mana troubles, and that is that. As Zemora's going to go to the sideboard, we're going to take a look at the sideboard too, as we should. He's got a Goblin Heel Cutter, 2 Rabble Masters, 4 Eidolon of the Great Revel, a Destructive Revelry, 2 Magmatic Chasms, 4 Roast, and a Scouring Sands.
So John's sideboard is moderately prepared for Atarka Red. It's not so hateful that it's running things like Arash and Clerics. That said, what is he going to do in the matchup? All right, he's going to try to get lower to the ground. So cards that matter, the 2 Ultimate Price, that card 2 mana removal spell, the 3 Drown and Sorrows. You need a clean way to answer these tokens. And also the 2, no, never mind, he does not have, yeah, he should have 2 copies of Duress here. I don't believe they're on here, but they are registered in his sideboard. Duress is pretty decent in this matchup because the Atarka Red deck actually runs a fair number of spells, I believe 25 of them here, and it deals you no damage, and just being able, like, the Obs on control game plan is to trade and remove as much as possible, so because Duress is a 1-mana spell, you're still going to want it. The things he's going to want to get away from in the matchup are pretty easy. Thoughtseize tends to be weak here. 2 life is just too much to pay for some of the cards you want to get rid of. To a point, I imagine he'll get away from some of the copies of Obzon Charm, perhaps. Crux of Fate is awfully slow, as is Wingmate Rock.
If you're Zemora in this matchup, you're going to want to bring in the Heel Cutter, the 2 Rabble Masters. You're on the play, so you might want to consider Eidolon of the Great Revel, but you're certainly going to bring in Roast. So at the very least, you're bringing in 7 cards. In this matchup, Wild Slash is the first one to go, so that's 4 cards out. I also like boarding out Zergo in this matchup, as Zergo is quickly outclassed by every single creature that John Lim plays. So Fleece Main Lion, Siege Rhino, Courser of the Krufix, all of those cards are better than Zergo is. Now, Foundry Denizen is actually pretty good in this matchup because if you do something like Hordling Outburst and you attack into a Courser and they trade their Foundry Denizen with they trade their Courser with Foundry Denizen, you're very, very happy about that. Those are the kind of exchanges you want to make, exchanges that Zergo is never capable of making. So those would be the 7 cards I board in and board out. On the play, I actually kind of want Eidolon of the Great Revel, so I would probably board out the Dragon Fodders for the Eidolon of Great Revels. Call it a day. It's 11 cards. It's quite a few. But when you're on the play, things certainly do change in the matchup.
Now, the Eidolon of the Great Revel part is interesting because John's deck does actually, between main and board, have 2 copies of Dramoka's command.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree because if things are going according to plan for Atarka Red, John shouldn't be able to fight down your creatures anyway because he shouldn't really have creatures in play.
Yeah, Dramoka's command, it's going to be good against you no matter what, so that doesn't really matter to me all that much. And, if he draws it and it kills Nylon on a creature, good beats, you're probably not winning that game anyway. I'm not terribly scared of that card, much more afraid of Drown in Sorrow and Duress. Not to say that Dramoka's command isn't good against the deck because it's fantastic. It needs a burn spell, it can kill Eidolon, the Great Revel, or a creature, but it's not going to stop me from boarding an Eidolon. With any luck, Eidolon gets to deal 4 points of damage. That's the big plan. If it deals more than that, then the card has been insane for you over the course of the game.
Yeah, if you can get a conversion ratio of 6 points for two mana, that's great.
Yeah, I don't even want 6. If I get 4, if I get to play Eidolon, you play like a temple, I attack you for 2, and then you Drown in Sorrow with my Eidolon. That's 2 mana for 4 damage. That's a Flame Rift. Patrick would be proud of that. I'd be happy with that too.
Right, and I think that's one of the things you mentioned when you said, we were talking before that the Abzan control deck can get burned out very easily. It's why these all removal hands can be very dangerous for them. He really needs those cards like Courser and especially Siege Rhinos, that he's not just gaining life, but he's winning.
We will talk very quickly about the Season 2 schedule here on the Open Series as it is just about to wrap up. We're obviously here in Dallas. We've got Worcester next weekend, a Legacy Open. We haven't had one of those for a while, so I know there will be a lot of interested viewers there. A lot of the players are going to come out for that. I know Joe Lissette's traveling that way, and then the other players on the top of the leaderboard, that's Kevin Jones, Ross Merriam, Danny Jessup, and Gerard Fabiano. That's right in their wheelhouse, so they'll all be there. And then, of course, our Season 2 Invitational, Modern Open Series, Modern and Standard Invitational. Me, you, and Patrick Sullivan will be bringing the coverage for that. And don't forget about the Polar Plunge playmat. Last time you can get it is next weekend in Worcester. It's free, limited edition, no strings attached. You come, you sign up for the main event, you get this awesome playmat.
Yeah, so that's free limited edition playmat. You said all Open Series competitors was given away this week and will be given away next week.
We'll have a Season 3 playmat for you guys debuting at the Season 2 Invitational. The Season 3 kicks off there with that main event, that main Modern 20K. So look forward to that. Don't want to give any hints away on what that's going to be, but trust me, if you like this one, you're going to like that one too, as we like to have these parody playmats. You ready for game number 2 here? Nathan, a little strategic advice, draw more than 1 land.
Yeah.
That's my professional advice.
And especially on 6 cards. The hand that Nathan kept was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. If he draws running lands, he gets to play some Magic. Even if he draws 1 land, he actually gets to play some Magic.
If he draws 1 land, he gets to play some Magic. If he can draw running lands, he's probably a favorite.
Yeah. He's going to take a mulligan here. One thing, I don't like mulliganing, but at the same time, when you are playing the Atarka Red deck, you can't be afraid to mulligan with the deck either. The deck actually mulligans much better than I think people expect. A lot of red decks have mulligan poorly, but the power level of this deck is actually pretty high, so you don't be afraid to go on 6 cards with this deck.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with whether or not you're more of a red deck wins or a burn style deck. So burn decks are very much on this, each card is worth X points of damage, so every time I go down a card, I'm losing damage. Those decks don't like to mulligan, but Atarka Red is much more of a red deck win style deck. It gets ahead on the board very early and pushes those creatures for a lot of damage, so being down 1 card, as long as you have your board presence, shouldn't matter as much.
Yeah. Burn decks, they can't mulligan very well.
They don't like it.
You have to keep some pretty bad hands with burn decks, and hopefully they kind of go according to plan. You cough up the right cards in the right order.
See if Nathan gets to keep on 6.
I think he said keep before he even drew his last card.
He's on the play, so this is the tough one for John.
He's going to start with a Wooded Foothills and a passing of the turn. Sandstep Citadel and a pass over to Zemora. Zemora's going to sacrifice that Foothills, go down to 19. We'll see if it's going to be a mountain or the forest.
So the dangerous part here, those tap lands from John. This is the first 2 turns is the window where he can really take a beating. That said, if Nathan's first play is fetch land into forest, I'm not as worried if I'm on John's side of things.
Fetch land into forest certainly means one thing. There is no Eidolon in hand, and I imagine no Eidolon in deck if he's searching for forest on turn 1. Take a draw. Lightning Strike. Pass the turn back. That's not good news.
No, he needs those creatures there. John does appear to have a turn 3 Courser, as well as a Dramoka's command and a Drown in Sorrow.
And Nathan's hand is super reactive at this point. He just drew a copy of Atarka's command. He has no creature in hand, no Whirling Outburst, no Dragon Fodder, no nothing. He's got Roast and Stoke the Flames and all that jazz. Not to say those are bad cards, but...
When the first creature of the game is a Courser, that's not good for Nathan. And then you look at it, reveals Siege Rhino. These are the 2 key cards for John. He has them both.
Now, oddly enough, Whirling Outburst may have been the best draw there,
Yep.
Yeah, pass the turn back. But actually, if you take a look at John's hand is actually fantastic. He gets to play the Temple here off the Courser. Means he gets to scry. Take a look. Oh, boy.
2 Rhinos.
This is getting hard.
This is so what you're telling me is that this turn is going to be a Drown in Sorrow. And then we know what the next 2 plays are. They're both the same card.
Yeah, we do. We do. He can play another Courser if he wants. This is, oh my, is it Bioblight too? Yeah, this.
So he's not even playing the Drown in Sorrow yet. He's going to go with Bioblight.
This game might be over.
I mean, you're not playing the Drown in Sorrow because who wants to scry when you have gifts like this coming up?
That's true.
Jeez.
So my job and your job at the booth is to say how, well, okay, well, Nathan can draw this string of cards to be able to win, and he can do all these great things. This game is over. It's unfortunate because I'm a fan of Atarka Red and I'm a fan of Nathan Zemora. John's draw this game is truly incredible. It is truly incredible. Nathan gets
Bioblight, Drown, Courser, Rhino.
Yeah.
That is what you want in this matchup.
If you could stack your deck, this is what you'd want to have. There's a roast to kill the Rhino.
That's untrue. I would put a duress in it.
Stop. I'm not listening to you. If you could stack your deck, this is what you would want. Even you have a Dromoka's command.
That's pretty good.
John might end this game at 30.
Yeah, he hasn't really taken too much damage.
No. And he might end the game with Drown in Sorrow in his hand. There's a Rhino.
Nathan down to 7. 6 points damage on John's side. Yep.
And there's a Dragon Fodder.
Yep.
It's just, and John's draw, his draw just came together perfect this game. And you know what? That happens. It's all part of it. There's nothing you can do. Shrug your shoulders. Say, I've had a great run, which Zemora has had. There's Stoke the Flames. I think Zemora said I'm targeting myself. Out of his own terms, I can respect that. I can respect that.
Some more down to 3 off that Dromoka's command. And
finish it off. John Lim's going to win this game and match here over Nathan Zemora. Obzon Controls moving on to the finals. Takes down Atarka Red in pretty simple fashion. Zemora's hands did not come together all that well, and John's hand, certainly that game did. He's on to the finals.
Nathan Zemora, what a top 8. Wins round 1 in 14 minutes, loses round 2 in 12.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't stay all that long on the camera, which means we get the opportunity to move on to our next matchup.